Hello, BillWhittle.com members and non-members alike. I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, and this is your right angle lightning round. If you're new to the lightning round, this used to be member bonus content for our members only, in which instead of digging deep into one story, I hit Bill and Scott up with a bunch of news stories, and they don't know what they are, and they still don't know what they are. And at the end of this segment, they still might not know what they are because that's just how it works. So without further ado, let's dig right in. Scott, I've got the first headline for you this week. British woman's attraction to chandeliers. This is a sexual attraction to chandeliers ruled not to be a protected sexual orientation. I have to ask you, Mr. Ott, what is the world coming to when British courts start making sense?
Well, see, there are already songs about this romantic attachment. I want to swing from the chandeliers. That's out there already. So this does not surprise me at all. When you said this, I could easily envision how someone might get into this proclivity. I think, frankly, the courts have not caught up with society yet. I think that they are trapped in the past, mired in the, sort of animate object love paradigm, not considering the possibility that there could be an unrequited love that still finds its requirement in the imagination, and that not only could you fall in love with a chandelier, but you could find that that chandelier is in love with you too, if only it could express itself. It would want to say that. So I'm really kind of disappointed at the legal profession and the jurisprudence of the British court for not catching up with the aggressive progressive trajectory of society.
Alt-right, Scott,
alt-right, chandelophobe.
All I can say is it's bad enough when you stick a fork in an electrical socket. And I'm just going to let that stay right where it is.
Yeah,
and take it no further.
That's the only utensil I want to hear about during this episode. Thanks.
Exactly. All right, Bill, this one's to you. This is from our mutual acquaintance, virtual acquaintance, Sean Davis on Twitter today. He says, the lockdowns must continue unless you're Bill Clinton's former press secretary who works at ABC News, or you're the CNN anchor brother of New York's Democrat governor. That's different. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. This coronavirus, which, by the way, comes from China, this coronavirus has been a real education on the status between us and the elites, hasn't it?
Yes. Wasn't there video footage of Chris Cuomo emerging from his wife's basement just earlier today?
He claimed that, but in fact, he was out on the streets of New York last weekend.
Let's not let details get in the way of a good story.
When Chris Cuomo emerged from that basement, he predicted 8 more weeks of COVID-19. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yes, that's the only joke that makes sense. He came out of the basement, he saw his own shadow, and therefore another 6 or 8 weeks of coronavirus lockdown. This is a subset and an important subset of I have never seen so widespread genuine rage against celebrities and billionaire commentators. It's not that there's hatred against people who are rich. There's hatred against people who live in $12 million mansions and tell us to, we're all going to have to hang in there another month and, we'll get through this together. And I'm sure that, you'll be able to restock your $26,000 refrigerator with $12 ice cream just any day now. Just have it delivered. And this is it. It's somewhat connected to the story I'm going to be doing on Right Angle this week about how completely disconnected and otherworldly so many of these elites are. The people that are giving us advice and in the news media, people giving us advice in terms of politics, most of them haven't got the faintest idea what real life is like at all. And furthermore, there seems to be the real pandemic is the pandemic of celebrities and celebrity wannabes, and I'm looking at you, Fredo, that are going just nuts, not being the center of attention. You're seeing these celebrities like doing these here's January Jones, I think it was, showing you how to take a bath, and
it's eluded me for years,
and not even any good parts. And here's somebody else showing you how to wash your hands, and we don't need you, and it is a set of rules for one group of people and another set for another. But I think one of the big takeaways from this, Steve, is that the regular people of this country are really coming out of this a little different. I don't think people are going to be looking up to celebrities so much anymore. I know for me, I never particularly did, but now it's truck drivers and grocery clerks that are my heroes. And I think that advice from millionaires, having a bunch of rich millionaire, celebrity, famous people singing "Imagine No Possessions," it's easy if you try. It's like, that sounds like a great plan in a $12 million mansion with your own in-house gym, own home theater, swimming pool, and servants. So I hope that this contempt for our moral and intellectual betters continues to grow apace.
Steve,
Bill,
can I add to that?
Go ahead, Scott. Sorry.
That I agree with Bill, because I just cannot relate to some of these people. I mean, I saw Olympic gymnast Simone Biles doing that handstand and removing her sweatpants while doing a handstand. No matter how much I try, I could not get my sweatpants off while Simone Biles did a handstand. I have a hard enough time doing it sitting down.
Well, looks like China wins then.
Indeed. Yes. Hey, Bill, I thought of something while I was listening to your answer, and I realized, and I hope everybody steals this phrase. I'm glad this isn't behind a member paywall anymore. The problem with our celebrities and our betters in modern times is weaponized wankerism. And
wankerism.
I think absolutely everybody should steal, borrow, use, and abuse that phrase. All right, Scott, to you. Oh, I can't believe I forgot to write their name down, so I can't give you that detail. But Miami Herald columnist says reopening Florida beaches will, quote, work nicely to thin the ranks of Trump supporters. So speaking of weaponized wankerism, my friend, that's another incident of it right there, isn't it?
I'm trying to picture what they think the connection is between Trump supporters and beachgoers. I guess maybe they think it's kind of like beachcombers in plaid shorts and big floppy hats with metal detectors or something, because they certainly couldn't be thinking of the Baywatch variety, of sleekly attired, healthy young people walking around on the beaches. So, I find it... I find it interesting that there are people who think it's okay to make jokes about your political opponents dying of something. Clearly they're doing that for humor, so I don't think they really think it's going to thin the ranks of Trump supporters. I think that they think that a bunch of people are going to find it funny if they say, wow, wouldn't this be great if a bunch of Trump supporters died as a result of opening the beaches? Good try, but with a million people out there trying to be comedians on Twitter, I think that your chances are slim of breaking through the noise.
Also, by the way, when they say Trump supporters, it's because they're outdoors. That's right. That's the first delineation, and Central Park doesn't count. And to the degree that they want to be this kind of snarky, this is a news. This is a reporter. This is someone with no bias whatsoever in the stories that they report. I hope the Trump supporters out there go to the beach and die. What you find is that if you look at the mortality rate for COVID-19 in America and you take New York out of the picture, it's the best in the world by a wide margin.
Yep.
And that the only place where this thing has gotten really out of control is in the skyscrapers of the Big Apple, which is constantly telling us how stupid the rest of us are and how we should listen to them.
Scott, you made me realize to really condense it down, what is wrong with Twitter. This is the distilled version of everything wrong with Twitter. It's the place where mean people go to try and be funny and where comedians go to be mean.
That's awesome. That's the perfect congealment of Twill.
That's exactly right. Congealment is the right word.
Yeah, congeal. That's much better than distilled. I like distilled stuff. All right, Bill, here we go to you. Oh, man, this might start an epic rant. I apologize in advance. I'd take her in a heartbeat, is the quote. Joe Biden says he would pick Michelle Obama to be his vice president. I just wound you up. Go.
Well, we covered this on Bill Whittle now, just a couple hours ago.
Yeah, but you haven't seen that yet because we've recorded it, but we haven't shown it.
It hasn't aired.
So it'll be a question to beat the clock to see which show gets you this profound insight first. I was just saying, of course, it's perfect for Joe Biden. Telegenic, no experience, and unpleasant. The three qualities that make the perfect Democratic candidate, really, when you get right down to it. Now Joe's got one of the three. And so we need to, kind of boost that ticket. The idea that he would suggest Michelle Obama is an indication that identity politics trumps everything, except for Trump, and that Michelle Obama is considered a viable candidate because she's named Obama, I guess. I'm not sure how well that worked out for Hillary. I can't imagine that she'd do it. She strikes me as very much in the same way as Hillary Clinton as not being a person who particularly likes people too much, and if she does do it, here's the thing, Steve, the Democratic Party ticket in 2020 is essentially inverted. Right. I mean, really, everybody knows this to be true.
Yeah.
The vice presidential candidate on that ticket is the person who is going to be president. There's no question about it. It's just nobody even knows if Biden's going to make it to the election. But so the vice presidential candidate for the Democrats is their presidential candidate. And if you think Michelle Obama, who's never run a company, never had to trade votes or make deals in Congress, has no foreign policy experience that I can think of other than watching her husband ship cargo pallets of cash to the Iranians. If you think that this is a viable vice presidential candidate, okay, you will pick up black votes this way, and you have to, because if 85% of black America doesn't vote Democrat, then Democrats never win again. But you'll also lose a number of people who always thought that Biden was at least the last refuge of the old school Democrats who used to represent working people and haven't for 25 years now.
Yeah, Bill, I'm old school enough that I still think I can get along and be friends and friendly with people whose political views I disagree with. I would love to sit at a poker table with James Carville, even though I find some of the things he says to be really offensive. I would love to get book recommendations from Gary Hart, who's just a really interesting thinker. But my problem with Michelle Obama is it isn't her politics, although I disagree with her politics completely. It's that she has one of the world's most beautiful smiles, but it stops right about here. I can't remember ever seeing her smile reach her eyes. And that tells me something, that she doesn't really like doing this thing, that there's something just kind of mean in there. And that's not the kind of person, no matter what their views, that I want to get along with or try to get along with. All right, last headlines for me. This is a headline from a Dennis Prager column, and I recommend you go to Real Clear Politics and look this up. If half the country's deaths were in Montana, would New York shut down?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we know the answer to that one, but Prager puts it brilliantly. So again, I suggest you read the column. And this is what I've really liked about Trump's approach, and I think that's why it drives the left nuts, is it is not top down. Trump's approach has been to let the states do their thing, to hector governors when he thinks they're doing the wrong thing, but not try to unconstitutionally override them or any of that stuff. It is a federalist approach to this crisis. The big moves he's making, and this was just leaked in to the Washington Post in a report on Tuesday, that Trump's big push next week is going to be deregulation to try and jumpstart the economy once the controls loosen up. And this is great. This is the exact opposite of authoritarianism. Oh, he's Putin's stooge. Oh, he's a dictator and all this stuff. No, it's not true. Look at what he's doing. He's letting the governors do their job, and he's pushing for deregulation to return powers and freedom to the state and to small business. This is exactly what we need. It's a good approach. I'm glad to see it. And I'll be really glad to see the inside of a restaurant again someday. And that is your Right Angle Lightning Round for this week. We'll do another one of these in 3 weeks. You don't want to miss it. I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.